Okay, we're ready to begin our tech talk today on exploring Mendix AI assistance, revolutionizing low-code development. Our presenters today are Misty and Rohan from our Plano, Texas office. Now, Misty has over 25 years technology experience specializing in software and services. Misty has organizations through digital transformations to SaaS optimized environments with a formal specialization in Microsoft solutions. Now, Rohan has over 4 years of experience in Mendix application development and web development. In 2020, Rohan took it upon himself to build a COVID-19 response application using Mendix. He holds a Mendix Rapid Developer certification as well as multiple AWS Cloud certifications. Misty and Rohan, the Tech Talk is now yours.
All right, thank you, Vicky. I appreciate you. Well, guys, let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so let's start with basics. I'm going to talk a little bit about the basics and the evolution, and then we're going to end with Rohan doing an excellent demo. So first, what is low code? And I am sure that if you are on this call, you probably know what low code is. So the idea behind low code is that it's going to give you pre-built templates, a drag and drop functionality, and simple logic components. So let's go back to the beginning. So in the beginning, we had binary, machine language. So software programming really began with this whole 1-0, it's either on or it's off world. And this was very tough for people to write in. I can't even imagine, to be honest. Then eventually we got quote unquote high level languages. We got Fortran, COBOL, BASIC. And what this allowed us to do is focus on problem solving instead of problem solving and machine instructions. This was the beginning of the evolution. Next, we get RAD, Rapid Application Development. I always wanted to say RAD in a corporate presentation. So RAD, Rapid Application Development, except still it wasn't that rad. It wasn't that rapid. So, and this is where we see Python, we see Java, C++, etc. Now, the problem with this is that it was still code. It is still code. And unless you're trained, certified, and really understand a lot of information, this is still going to be challenging. So what happened? So guys, what happened? It's just like in our everyday world where once upon a time, our operating systems were built on MS-DOS, C:/. You had to type in instructions.exe, and still, this is the basis, this is the background of everything that we have. And then what eventually evolved is GUI interface. And so now there were actually little icons. You could click, you could move. It was easier for the everyday person to be able to use a system. That is the same transformation that is happening right now with program development, app development. So again, we started out with that binary. We went into more of a language model, and now we have products, Mendix. So Mendix, again, is that drag and drop scenario that is visual and easier for people to conceptualize and create. Now, so what is Mendix? As I already mentioned, it's a low-code development. So it allows you to build your applications faster with less resources, right? And we love that. It is going to give you robust building blocks. And those building blocks allow you to develop an application much more quickly than you would by typing out all of that code. And it's integrated. Mendix comes with over 100 APIs already built and ready for you to use. And there's even more out in the Mendix community and in Mendix forums. And then it's multi-experience. What does that mean? That means that one app that you develop can be used on your cell phone, your tablet, your desktop. It can be used all of these different ways on the web because you have this multi-experience environment. All right, so let's get to the meat of things. What is Maia? So Maia is Mendix AI Assistance. So it is where you take artificial intelligence, you add machine learning, and that is going to give you AI assisted development. And so although Mendix just being a low code app development document or application, it will take you to that next level to make things even easier and faster for you to develop those applications. So capabilities. So we're going to go into three different areas. There's three different types of Maya capabilities that we're going to talk about. So guidance, and that's Maya chat. My favorite, by the way. Recommenders, so you have best practice, logic, workflow, and then we're going to go into generators, domain model, and translation. And Rohan is actually going to demo the domain model generator for us. All right, so Maya chat. I'm not going to go into this a lot because we all know how chat works. So Maya chat is very much like Chat GPT. You have a question, you go in, you enter the question, and it comes back with an answer. Now, they have taken all the documentation or majority of documentation and put it into chat already. So it already has access to the forums, advanced academy learning path. In fact, they like to say it already passed the rapid and intermediate Mendix certification exams. So it's a very smart chat. So what does that actually look like? So in this situation, we're going in and doing an example of, okay, so how do I set up authentication on SAML, right? So what does that look like? So it's going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to do that. And then let's say you're like, well, what is SAML anyway? Then you just type that in, and then it's going to remember what you asked before, and then it's going to come back and then give you that data. And when I say remember what you did, so the Maya chat is so advanced that as you're typing in information, it remembers the questions that you've asked before, and it's building on that. So this is the next level. Like I said, it's basically a Chat GPT for Mendix Studio Pro. It's excellent. And then now let's talk about a recommender. So what is a recommender? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. So a recommender was created to help guide you as you're building everything, and they have three currently. So they have the logic recommender, and what that does is it helps you model, it helps you configure, and in microflows, nanoflows, it helps you develop rules in the Mendix Studio Pro. So it's going to give you contextualized recommendations on what it thinks your next best activity should be based on the parameters that you've already done. Now, the workflow recommender, again, this is going to suggest tasks. It's going to say, okay, so should you have a timer here? Is this a decision? Is there a split here that you need? So it is going to, whoops, went a little too far. So it's going to go through and do the exact same thing. And then, of course, best practice. So this is going to go through, it's going to look at your app, and it's going to compare that to the Mendix development best practice. And it's going to say, okay, based on best practices, we think that maybe this is an area that you might need to change or to alter. And by doing that, it's going to go through and it's going to suggest the fix for you. So you don't even have to do anything. It'll just come in and say, we can fix this for you. Now, these recommenders, pardon me, these recommenders, they suggest the best action and they give it a 95% accuracy rate, which I gotta tell you is better than autocorrect on my phone. So I'm all for it. All right, let's go into a little bit more on each one of these. And let's take a look at a quick little demo here. So the logic recommender, anytime you see that blue plus symbol in the flow, that is when the system is giving you a recommendation. And then you just hover over and it's going to tell you what that recommendation is. You can click on it. You can also just go in the search field and type in what you're looking for or what you think you need. And the same thing. Now it works with a fuzzy search, meaning it will find direct matches first and then anything else after. It does initially contain the top 10 contextual suggestions based on what you're doing thus far. And then now let's look at workflow. So workflow, it's basically a virtual co-developer with you. So it's going to help you model and configure your workflow in Mendix Studio Pro. Now, a big element or a key feature of workflow is you have smart search. So you can go in, you can search for your element that you want to add to your workflow based on parameters, domain model entities, or relevant documents. And then it also has auto configuration. So that not only provides the next best action, but it will automate the development further. It goes ahead and pre-populates the parameters for what you're trying to do. And then it'll make contextual suggestions as well. Now it takes these contextual suggestions in a couple different ways. So it looks left and right in your workflow, and then it will suggest maybe a new activity or a decision mid-flow based on the context that's being used. All right, now that takes us to the best practices recommender. All right, so what this does is it automatically detects possible problems. So it will identify them, it'll pinpoint what is causing the issue, and then it will, as I mentioned before, automatically suggest a fix, if you will. And then it'll say, would you like it to fix? Would you like us to fix this? So you can say, yes, go ahead and fix it. I didn't realize that was a problem, or you can just close it out, etc. Now there's 3 different levels of assistance that you're getting with best practices. So one, detection. So it's going to look at the model, identify the issue, and pinpoint those areas that may be causing an issue, right? It's going to make a recommendation. It's going to explain how it identified the issue, the potential impact, and then how to fix it. And then of course, auto fixing. It can automatically fix anything and implement the best practice, to make the change without you having to do anything. It'll take care of it for you. Last, we have the generation. All right. So Maia brings generative AI to Mendix Studio Pro. And again, it's all about making it easier to develop apps. So we have 2 different generators. We have the domain model generator, and this is where you tell Maia what it is you want to build, and then Maia generates the domain model, including entities, associations, etc. So the example I like to use is you can just tell Maia, I want to build a bike rental app. They're going to be bikes, there's going to be customers. I'm going to rent the bikes to customers, generate me a model. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, so again, you enter the information into Maia, it goes through, it generates the domain model, and then you can say additional information like, okay, but, oops, let's play that again. But I need to lease, upgrade, or end private lease independently. It builds that in, and creates the connections for you. And Rohan is going to demonstrate this for us in just a sec. And last but not least, translation generator. So with the translation generator, if you have an application that, let's say you created in English, but it needs to also be in Spanish or even Hindi, you can simply go to the generation or the generate translation, choose your language, and then Maia will go through and make that creation. It'll make that switch for you. Now, naturally, you definitely want to go in and check it, view, make sure the translation is correct, as much as you are able to, but it does that work for you. And again, we're in a global world now. I think this is going to be more and more important as we expand our horizons and really embrace our global environment. Now, just real quick, I want to look at what the Mendix vision is for Maia. So on this screen, anything that is in green is what they've created today. Everything else is what is coming. So there is a lot coming in future releases of Maya. So personally, debugging I think is fabulous. Can't wait to see that. Test data generation. So there is a lot that is coming with this. So hold on, it's going to be a great ride. I cannot wait to see everything that Mendix is doing with Maya. All right, guys, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Rohan, who is going to talk about the wonderful world of domain generation. Go ahead,
All right.
Rohan.
Thank you so much, Misty. For those of you that don't know, my name is Rohan Patel, and I'll be giving a demo of the domain model generator. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Are you able to see it?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen.
Wonderful. So again, I want to preface that Maya is an experimental tool. It is in its beta stage and it's not fully released. You can find it in Studio Pro version 10.13 and above. Once again, that's 10.13. And a way I like to look at it is consider you're writing an essay, an academic essay, and you need that outline. That's exactly what the domain model generator can give you. And it gives you it in about 30 seconds versus, as any developer knows, it usually takes like 5 to 10 minutes to get that domain model going. And there's a lot of logic behind it, which Maya's generative AI will be able to assist you in. So we'll start with showing you how to activate Maya in Studio Pro. So this is a complete blank Studio Pro application that I just launched. And so as you can see, there's absolutely nothing on the home web page. The domain model is completely empty. So let's go ahead and activate Maya. So you go to Edit, you click Preferences, and then you'll go over to New Features right here. Click on New Features, scroll down a little bit, and there's an entire section for Maya. So if you want to enable the domain model generator, you would do it from here with the click of this button. I already have it activated. And same thing for the translation generator. So let's go ahead and click OK, and let's generate a domain model. So I have a short script here that I've prepared. So I'll go ahead and paste that in there. So what I'm asking Maya to do for me is create a domain model for our registration for employees. And every employee should be able to register how many hours of work on several projects for several tasks related to these projects. So let's go ahead and ask Maya to generate that for us. As you can see, Maya is processing the request. And this usually, I've run this a few times. It usually takes, or with different types of domain models and for different applications, usually takes about 30 seconds to a minute. But it saves us a lot of time on the developer end. So as you can see here, Maya has generated our domain model. And that took maybe 30, 45 seconds. Saves a lot of time again. And as you can see, it's created an entity for employee with variables first name, last name, email. It has also created an entity for our registration where we'll have our date and time, our hours worked, as well as an entity for project where we can have our project name, start date, end date. And we have an entity for task as well. So it'll be the task name and description. Now, one of the, as any developer in Mendix knows, one of the most tedious tasks is creating these associations between the entities in the domain model. Now, where Maya helps a lot with that, it automatically generates that for you and gives you a solid template for that. Now we've seen that Maya has been able to generate a domain model, but what did Maya actually generate? Essentially, Maya just generated a template for us where we then can go in, we can make our associations, we can add in our validation rules, and we can assign values to those variables, as well as if we want to add any variables. I mean, as usual, you can always click new and add anything you want to it. Now, although this is still in beta, it's great. It gives us a great look on how Maya can be used in the future to develop apps and make it much more streamlined, much more easy, and much more efficient. Now, let's say you haven't used Mendix before in your life, right? So how can you open this Maya chatbot from, let's say, so now it's open, but let's say I close it. So Mendix has made it very easy to access Maya. All you have to do is you click these two stars up here, and it'll open the Maya chatbot for you. Now, what many Mendix developers early on in Mendix, what we struggled with is we'd spend hours and hours going through the Mendix documentation, trying to find how we can fix our microflows and going through the forums, spending so many hours doing that. However, this will also be very helpful for newcomers to Mendix, new developers, because you can ask a simple question like, let's say, how do I create a microflow? And as Misty mentioned earlier, Mendix has already brought all of its documentation onto Maya, which makes it much, much easier than having to go onto the Mendix documentation search and find all of that information. So as you can see, it gives you step-by-step guide to create a microflow. Follow these steps, open the App Explorer, right-click on the directory folder, and so on and so forth. So when I first started developing using Mendix, this was a big issue for me. As mentioned, I spent hours going through the documentation and, oh, this microflow doesn't work because I'm missing maybe a certain character or an association is incorrect. And it definitely saves a lot of time as well as helps us a lot with learning. And yeah, as you can see, it provides step-by-step guidance straight from the documentation, forums, and even pulls from the Academy learning paths. And as I would like to also preface is I'd like to reference Murphy's Law that states anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So Maya is still in the beta phase, and hopefully we'll see it being published here soon. But there are some issues you may run into, but overall it can be used to help you out in the long run. Yeah, that's all I have for my demo. Thank you all very much.